I was at Yasha, but Rico from RicoScores, and we're taking a break from the draft breakdowns from these rookies just for a little bit. I'm gonna come right back to y'all with another one, more than likely tonight. But right now, we are on to basically a Rico report in May 4th. Rico report, and we're gonna break down all of the Washington news that's been going down. I mean, I've kept track of so many things over the past couple of weeks, even dating back to before the draft, and I felt like now was the right time to just go ahead and throw them all into one video. I mean, we have the RFK demolition. We have the fact that confirmed by John Com that Josh Harris is buying the virtual reality technology that Jaden Daniels used at LSU. He's bringing that over to the NFL level. We also have an update for the Washington Commanders practice dates, just in case, so you know, all the way leading up to mid-June, what exact dates we're practicing, who'll be there, and all of that type of stuff. And then we apparently have a Commanders Hall of Fame on the way. We got to talk about that. Daryl Green went viral for looking better at 64, looking like a better DB at 64 than a lot of these rookies coming out of the draft. We're going to talk about that. Also, second-round rookie defensive back Mike Sainristil saw Daryl Green go viral and then made sure he hit him up. We're going to talk about that. I love that. And so many more things. I have a bunch of random stats. Y'all know how these Rico reports get. It's just a amalgamation of just a bunch of random stuff, man, like super random, just bit by bit. I try to put the more important stuff at the front, but who knows? Maybe some people care about different things than others. So just make sure you stick with me throughout this entire video. And before we dive into all of that, make sure you still follow that like button, still follow the subscription button, and still follow the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. Make sure you stay tuned for all of the content. I really appreciate y'all, man. Y'all been going crazy. All of the likes, all of the views. Make sure you follow all of the social medias, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, everywhere, man. Daily content there as well. And stay tuned because I'm gonna continue updating y'all and doing breakdowns on every draft pick that we just had a week ago. And then I'm gonna start moving on to film sessions for all of those draft picks and notable undrafted free agents as well. And I still got to do my whole draft review. That's probably gonna be like a 30 minutes, an hour long video, all of that type of stuff, man. And I have so many other interesting articles and ideas for videos, so stay tuned for all of that. Let's go ahead and dive into this video, man. Let's get it. Adam. All right, so first of all, as you can see on the screen right now, here are the starting rookie minicamp dates for every NFL team. You already have the Packers, the Eagles, the Ravens, the Jets, and the Seahawks already starting their rookie minicamps. As you can see, we're at the very bottom right, all the way to the right, starting May 10th, going all the way through May 12th. So we don't have our mini camp started yet, but other teams already do. I don't know why like a big portion of the league is all starting at the same time, May 10th, like the majority of the league, and a lot of other people. I mean, I don't know, the Bengals are only May 10th, and I'm just glad that we're at least one of those teams that has it for 3 days. I'll take starting later for 3 days than to start earlier and only have it for 1 or 2, because the Packers and the Eagles are starting, they've already started as of yesterday, and they're continuing today, and then that's it. They only have 2 days of it, and I don't exactly get why the Bengals only have 1 day. That's so random. But to continue breaking down our off-season dates, because we don't care what the other 31 NFL teams are doing at all, man. So our rookie mini camps are May 10th through 12th, as you saw. Also, OTAs and off-season workouts are May 14th through 15th, then May 17th, then May 21st through the 22nd, then May 24th, then June 4th through 5th, and then June 7th, and then mandatory mini camp is June 11th through 13th. Everything else before then, if a veteran's there, it's because he wants to be there. I wouldn't be surprised if we have like a huge percentage of participation with everybody so excited about the new regime. And really, I mean, everybody's starting from ground zero, to be completely honest with you. I mean, I love Terry McLaurin, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne, but these are new offensive coordinators, new defensive coordinators, new head coaches, new positional coaches, all the way down basically, except for literally, I think only our wide receivers coach and our quarterbacks coach survived the changes. I think everybody else is different top to bottom. DB's coach, linebackers coach, Ken Norton Jr. coming in to do that. Fantastic. We have a bunch of new roles that we didn't even have previously, like a defensive assistant and all kinds of stuff, man. We have a defensive passing game coordinator, an offensive passing game coordinator. It is crazy. It's so much chaos that I just feel like everybody, I feel like we almost need and require 100% participation, even during the voluntary parts. I mean, unless you're just on this important vacation with your family, I can understand. But don't just be at home or pulling a Chase Young and working out with somebody random somewhere else in the country. Go ahead and pull up, man. We have an entirely new team, top to bottom. Even this time last year, Josh Harris wasn't even here yet as our new owner. This time last year, when we were going into OTAs, these voluntary workouts, Dan Snyder, we already knew that he was bound to sell the team, but he hadn't officially sold it yet. Josh Harris wasn't around the team to improve the facilities and things like that. We didn't have Adam Peters. We didn't have our head coach. I mean, top to bottom is completely different. And I feel like even guys like Terry McLaurin need to come in and get as much time and work in with Cliff Kingsbury to catch up to the offense as soon as possible. Yeah, they were here before Cliff Kingsbury got here. They've been on the burgundy and gold for years, but they haven't been in Cliff Kingsbury's system for years. Same thing with Jonathan Allen and Deron Payne. Get here as soon as possible so you can go ahead and start working with Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr. and all of those guys as quickly as possible. And then, I mean, again, even outside of those veterans, even the veteran special teams guys, we brought in a new kicker. We brought in a long snapper. We need that chemistry to pick up as soon as possible. We don't want the same mistakes we had last year. So I wouldn't be surprised if we have a large percentage of participation, even from the veterans, when it comes to these OTAs and things like that. Now, moving on, in random news, going back to free agency again, this was before the draft even happened. This was actually March 27th. The Pro Football Focus gave out grades for free agency, and as you can see on your screen, we were the only team to get an A. Giants, Falcons, Vikings, and Buccaneers got A minuses, and then the Lions, Eagles, and Rams got B pluses. We were the only team that got an A. So I'm assuming, just based off of what I'm seeing from draft grades, from us getting A minuses, A's, and A pluses even, we were Pete Prisco's only A plus. I'm assuming that a lot of people would say that the Commanders basically won the entire offseason, not just the draft, but free agency added to the draft. The Commanders basically won the entire offseason, and we're not even talking about hiring Adam Peters or the coaching staff that we have assembled. We're just talking about free agency, draft alone, just isolating those two, putting them together. The Commanders won the offseason in a lot of people's eyes, and I love it. And speaking of love for the Commanders, you have Greenberg also saying, quote, "I think we agree that the ownership is in a much better spot, the front office, the coaching, and I thought the draft went really well. If all of that starts to mesh, why can't they exceed expectations? I think it's absolutely worth looking at over 9.5 wins." And again, that is Neil Greenberg of the Washington Post right there. And typically the Washington Post used to really hate the Commanders, it seemed like, but when you really think about it, they probably just hated Dan Snyder more than anything else now that Dan Snyder's gone. Hopefully a lot of that hate will disappear. I mean, you already see Greenberg right there believing in the Commanders, showing some optimism in this organization. I'm excited. Also, speaking of love, Sixers ownership, including Josh Harris, David Blitzer, and David Adelman, alongside Fanatics CEO and former co-owner Michael Rubin, are teaming up to purchase and hand out more than 2,000 Game 6 tickets to first responders, healthcare professionals, community groups, and other local organizations. So that game already happened, but I did want to announce the fact that Josh Harris was teaming up with our boy David Blitzer as well, and a few other people to basically send a lot of really good people to that game. That's love, man. Super random. We're not going to stick on that too long, but that's love right there. And then sticking to the business side, partial owner of the Washington Commanders, Mitchell Rails, went on a podcast and talked about building his business and a lot more other things, including building his life, his legacy, and all of that. Not a ton of football talk, but big picture stuff. And basically JP Finley said that Rails an A+ dude, but what you can take from it that's really important, the most interesting thing that he said in it was that apparently they are trying to build a Commanders Hall of Fame next to the stadium or practice facility, and basically want to have students take field trips there to build up the younger fan base. So that's really cool, man. I would love that. A Commanders Hall of Fame. I would love to visit that. The next time I'm out in the DMV and that's there, I'm for sure going. I would love to see how that looks. Pretty sure they would do Sean Taylor way better with the whatever mural they give him there. I will be super excited. And all of the jerseys that we have retired, most recently Daryl Green will probably be up in there somewhere. We will have our Super Bowl victories and probably like a little statue of Joe Gibbs, all of that type of stuff. I think that would be really, really cool, man. I feel like they definitely need to make sure they put that into work right there. And I love the fact that they're also thinking ahead, like, you know, let's cultivate this fan base a little bit. Let's get some of these younger guys, these little kids, starting to believe and grow with this Commanders fan base right now. Because like I've said, man, unless your parents are burgundy and gold fans, or unless you're like of a certain age, man, like it's few and far in between finding Commanders fans right now, especially new ones. Unless you're from the DMV area or your parents grew up Commanders fans, if you're like under a certain age, I just highly doubt. I mean, we even have people from the DMV like Chase Young that grew up like an Eagles fan. I mean, you see this all of the time because the Eagles and the Cowboys have been better in our lifetimes. Even the Giants have won 2 Super Bowls recently in a lot of these young guys' lifetimes. So we just got to start winning first and foremost. But I love the fact that they're going the extra mile to also do whatever they can to try to help groom as many young Commanders fans as possible. I love it. Also, we have a big announcement. The National Park Service has determined RFK Stadium will be demolished. Well, at the very least, can be demolished. We'll see about the will. We'll see when it's probably going to happen. In the article, it says the National Park Service has evaluated the potential effects on the natural, cultural, and human environment related to the demolition of the Robert F. Kennedy Memorial Stadium and has determined that the stadium can be demolished. So basically, they just went and made sure it's safe. It will not negatively affect the area around it, the people around it. You're good to go. In the finding of no significant impact, which was signed April 29, 2024, the NPS explains the decision and describes conservation measures that will be taken to avoid and minimize negative effects in the surrounding area. And then they go on to say a whole bunch of more stuff, but that just lets you know that basically the demolition of the RFK Stadium has now gotten the go. Like the people that make sure it's safe to do are like, yeah, you're good to go. Now it's just all about the legal parts of it and things like that. So this is definitely significant because, of course, you can't build a new stadium without first tearing down the one that's already there right now. So this is a big step forward towards potentially the next Commander Stadium being where that RFK site is. I'm still not exactly sure how confident I am in it, but it is an important step that had to have been crossed. Without that step, we wouldn't be here, and it's interesting that it's already gotten done in late April. Now they can start to move forward with further processes, and shouts out to San 48 for pointing out, originally supposed to be raised by 2021 before the city repurposed the funds for COVID relief. Now we have a major procedural step for the site to make the site a realistic option for the Commanders' new stadium. The RFK bill needs to pass the Senate, and that's to be determined. So again, we still have a lot of legal things in the way, but at the very least, we have the go. Like, okay, you can go ahead and tear this down, and and they're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure they take the right precautions, do the right processes, take the right steps to make sure it negatively affects the area around it as least as possible. Also, moving on, continuing with the business side of things, Josh Harris and David Blitzer launched a youth sports firm unrivaled as TCG Invest. That's the title. So apparently Josh Harris and David Blitzer have been actively investing in youth sports properties over the last 2 years. Now the private equity titans and longtime sports team owners are rolling up their assets into a new parent company, Unrivaled Sports. That's the name of it. The formation of Unrivaled includes an investment by the Sherman Group, TCG, and the hiring of former Nike COO and longtime Disney executive Andy Campion to run the firm. So, hey, shouts out to Josh Harris and those guys. More than 550,000 athletes and 1.1 million attendees annually visit Unrivaled's 12 owned and operated facilities. And now Josh Harris and David Blitzer are putting more money into that to help improve that. And speaking of putting money into great things, the Commanders and Bank of America are joining forces to build affordable homes in Silver Spring as well. All of these titles and general updates I'm giving you, there are, of course, plenty of articles out there for them. So if you want like a deeper dive into what, when, how much money, all of that type of stuff, definitely go check those out. But we will be here forever if we do deep dives into every article that we're going to talk about today. Now moving on, John Com tweeted out literally, and this was like, yeah, let me just go ahead and get this video out now. Let's just go ahead and work on this. Let's get this out immediately. As of right before 1 p.m. earlier today. I'm recording this at 3 p.m. right now Eastern time. He tweeted, had a few ask about the virtual reality technology used by Jaden Daniels at LSU. Yes, Washington will have it for him and all of the quarterbacks. They liked it quite a bit and would have ordered it regardless of the quarterback. But of course, Jaden Daniels being the guy that's literally attached to it, we're going to get to that soon. It just makes too much sense. He also said, but they also knew how much it helped Jaden Daniels. And just to let you know, this virtual reality is a system that creates an immersive game-like environment for quarterbacks, allowing them to practice decision-making skills in realistic scenarios. And on top of that, when using this technology, it's often faster than game speed. And basically everybody's saying that it did wonders for Jaden Daniels because basically he's practicing at a faster speed than actual real life is. So when he gets into games, his mental processing feels so quick, and it almost feels like real human athletes are easier to pick apart with his reads in his arm than the actual technology that he practices with day in and day out, every day, all night, and things like that. Even like Jaden Daniels even said, well, there was a report, Jaden Daniels didn't say it himself, but a report when breaking down the German VR technology said that he was taking extra time outside of practice. He would do his normal amount of like film study. He would do his normal amount of practicing, his normal amount of exercising and going to the gym and things like that. Outside of that, anything VR was extra. And he was taking time, setting aside time for that outside of course, like school. I mean, how about classes? I mean, everybody that's gone to college, you know how much class consumes your time. Imagine being Jaden Daniels, and not only on top of the classes that you're taking, you have this VR technology, film study, football practice, exercise, gym. Just imagine trying to cram all that in a day. I'm not jealous of that college schedule that these quarterbacks especially, but football players in general, really athletes in general, have to go through, but especially football. Football is just an all day everything. You can't avoid it type of thing. But of course, with this technology at his disposal, a lot of people feel that Jaden Daniels had that huge leap going into this last 2023 season, largely due to this technology. And he would probably even tell you, yeah, man, like that technology helped a lot. And just to also let you know, if you were wondering, yes, this is very new technology, like so new that Jaden Daniels was actually technically like the guinea pig for this. Like the people that invented this, there's two Germans that they would literally test things with Jaden Daniels, ask for feedback, and then whatever changes or updates he asked for, they would go ahead and make those changes for him based on his preferences and things like that. So not only is this technology great for Jaden Daniels, but it's also technically tailored to him and his preferences and tailored to what he needs to work on the most and things like that. Like another quarterback could get this VR technology, say if other teams in the NFL were to do this, and then they would probably want like completely different settings or preferences or something. So even if the two Germans that invented this VR technology wanted to give this out to other NFL teams with their other quarterbacks, Jaden Daniels would still at the very least have somewhat of an advantage over everybody else, just off of the fact that this technology was literally built from the ground up, testing it on Jaden Daniels for the most part. And I'm also not sure if any other team will be purchasing this technology. We may be the only team that actually goes out and gets it. But I hope my Georgia Bulldogs go and get it as well, because we can't let LSU have any advantage over us in any way possible. We need to go ahead and shut that down now. Kirby Smart, make that call. And also, if y'all remember, I dedicated an entire like 10-15 minutes breaking down the virtual reality technology, who invented it, like their exact names, where it started, how they ended up coming to LSU with it, and things like that. So if you want like a deeper breakdown of where it came from, who it is, how it works, and things like that, go check that out in a video where I did a whole breakdown on Jaden Daniels' weaknesses and strengths like months ago. But long story short, it helped him with a lot of his mental and nuanced aspects of the sport. And I said back then that I would have been surprised if Jaden Daniels didn't bring that technology over here with him, regardless of which quarterback we drafted, but especially if we drafted Jaden Daniels. Said this months ago that it would just make too much sense to go ahead and buy that technology and bring it here to the Commanders with them. And there you go. Like I said, Josh Harris will spend every single dollar necessary to give his team any advantages possible. I love it, no matter how marginal. Absolutely love what Josh Harris is doing here. And my boy at the Burgundy Zone brings up a great point as well. He said the VR training is basically a game changer for Washington. Not only did Daniels benefit from it, but now every player might have the ability to use this technology as well. With more investment into the product, the capabilities are endless. I completely agree. I'm afraid of everybody else getting a hold of it, but at the very least, Josh Harris said when he bought this team, we were going to be trailblazers and ahead of the curve, and he was right, because I don't think any other team in the NFL has it. I think LSU was the only team in college that had it, at least for the football side, so I highly doubt any other NFL team has it, and unless another NFL team has already ordered theirs at the same time that Josh Harris just did, we may be the only team in the NFL using this technology, and that's going to be a big advantage because, like my boy at the Burgundy Zone just said, even outside of the quarterback position, if we utilize this technology for a lot of different position groups, imagine the DBs, you know what I'm saying? Instead, like while practicing in 2x speed and having to make mental and quick adjustments like that, imagine when you get in the game how much slower the game is for you. Imagine how that just drastically just glosses over the growing pains that a normal rookie DB has to deal with the game moving too fast for them. That would be incredible. So let's make that happen. Please, let's go ahead and make sure everybody gets a VR headset. Not just one for Jaden Daniels, not just a few for the quarterback room. Make sure everybody is equipped with these. I'm pretty sure it's very expensive, but we know our boy Josh Harris got it. That boy does not play. He already has dedicated so much money into improving the current stadium that doesn't even technically have a real sponsorship right now. They just changed it to Commander Stadium. FedEx dipped up out of there, and our current facilities where we practice at in Ashburn. He's already dedicated as much money as possible everywhere. This elite coaching staff, arguably the best coaching staff on paper in the NFL, also didn't come cheap. Josh Harris is not being cheap at all, not being frugal. He wants to win, and he's showing it. I love it. Also, moving on in random news, Jake Rosenberg, the salary cap executive and GM Howie Roseman's longtime aide, has left the Eagles. That was a little bit ago. That was back in March 27th. And my boy Resh Manuel brings up a great point. He said, I wonder if the Commanders are eyeing him. He's a Penn State guy like Josh Harris. If you could poach a guy from a division rival, that's an advantage. Rob Rogers, who of course has been doing an excellent job so far right now, but he's a Rivera guy from the previous regime. Who knows if they want to bring in their own guy that way. And then also you can make Rosenberg the SVP of football administration on a potential path to GM of a team one day if you want to go that route to entice them to pull up and come to the Commanders. And again, in my opinion, they killed it with the contracts this offseason. So I personally feel like what's the point of fixing was not broken. I mean, I feel like, honestly, Rob Rogers may be one of the very few bright spots from the previous regime. And just because it's a Rivera guy doesn't mean you automatically need to get rid of him, because he's doing a great job on that end of things. And even after signing the most free agents out of the entire NFL, we still only ranked 17th in free agency spending. So that tells you everything you need to know about what Rob Rogers did with those contracts. So many teams that signed way less free agents than us still ended up spending more money in free agency than we did. I mean, the team at the highest are the Philadelphia Eagles. They didn't sign anywhere near as many free agents as us. Second most Jaguars, then the Panthers, then the Lions, then the Patriots, then the Titans, then the Colts, the Chiefs, then the Falcons, then the Ravens, then the Texans, then the Giants, then the Seahawks, then the Rams, then the Vikings, then the Buccaneers, and then it's us. 17th place in free agency spending, while again at the same time signing the most free agents. I feel like there's a lot of reasons to that. There's a lot of people that contributed to that. For Rob Rogers cooking up them contracts, I'm pretty sure played a big role into how we were just the most efficient team in the NFL this offseason as far as free agency signings. And even before the draft, before we even drafted Dominique Hampton, in random news, who is projected to basically move into like a star position, like a hybrid linebacker safety type of guy. Even though he played a lot of free safety in college, I'm expecting him to move into a star role. But Jeremy Chin had an interview back on April 12th, way back. And he's basically saying that he's fired up and ready to prove doubters wrong. He literally said he's peed off, and that basically he's ready to show a lot of people on the field that he deserves to be talked about in a way better light than what he's being talked about right now. And he was willing to take that extremely cheap one-year deal to not only bet on himself, but bet on the elite coaching and development of this coaching staff, Dan Quinn, Joe Wood Jr., and all those guys, to put him in a position to go out there and prove everybody wrong so he can get paid the big money that he feels he deserves in the 2025 offseason. But you just got to watch the clip. The reason I'm bringing it up is that if you're talking about anybody anybody on this team being motivated. And we have a lot of guys on 1-year deals, 1-year prove-it deals. So a lot of guys on this team are very motivated to go out there and ball out right now. Like, they're desperate to ball out this year. But you can argue Jeremy Chinn may be the most motivated of all. Make sure you go check out that interview that he had literally with the Washington Commanders himself, where he's like chilling on the couch with a polo and everything. I mean, he literally said, I'm peed off. Like, he's like angry at how people basically are talking about him this offseason. He's ready to go out there and ball out. And don't make a freak athlete like that upset. Because outside of Tyler Owens, who we just signed as an undrafted free agent, Jeremy Chinn is probably not only the most athletic player on our entire team, you could argue he's one of the most athletic players in the entire NFL. A perfect 10 relative athletic score, along with Tyler Owens, who we just signed as an undrafted free agent. They may be the only 2 players in the entire NFL with perfect 10s. At the very least, the only 2 DBs in the NFL with perfect 10s. I don't know why you would give motivation and also allow the Commanders to have both of them in the same room, but I'm super excited about the potential. But my main point is, don't make a guy that's that much of a freak athlete that nobody else can run with at that size that motivated. That's going to be really dangerous for teams. I'm expecting him to ball out this season. He was easily one of my 3 favorite signings this entire offseason, because not only just the talent, but the motivation behind it. Come on now. Also, random news, NFL news. The NFL announced April 10th that they will allow teams to use third alternate helmet designs after a uniform policy rule change. So just to let y'all know, now teams can have a third helmet in the rotation, just to keep you updated. There's a whole article on that if you want a full breakdown on why and how and all of that type of stuff. But just know, if the Commanders do want to get creative, now we have a third helmet option that we can use. Now, next up, Daryl Green, my fault, Hall of Fame, recently retired defensive back Daryl Green, just went viral recently, as you can see on the screen right now. And attached with the video, you have NFL Draft Diamonds, not a Commanders fan, not a Commanders reporter. They just report on a whole bunch of draft stuff in general. But I believe from the way that he tweets, he's basically like a Buffalo Bills fan. He even took notice to this viral moment of Hall of Famer Daryl Green. The title of his article literally looks better at 64 than some players drafted in 2024. And if you're looking at these highlights on the screen right now, these clips, this is literally from I think earlier today. I think this just happened today and went viral today. And at 64 years old looking like this, that's amazing. And again, he went viral. This is a NFL Draft Diamonds, not a Commanders fan or a reporter even talking about this. He has a whole article on it, basically just showing love to Daryl Green and things like that. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason. He even talks about how he was named All-Pro 1986, 87, 1990, 1991, voted to 7 Pro Bowls, all of that type of stuff. Voted to the NFL's league's 1990s All-Decade team, winning all 4 NFL's fastest man competitions that he participated in. It's just a whole bunch of accolades and achievements that, again, a non-Commanders fan is doing on Daryl Green. And the catalyst was this clip that you're seeing on the screen. But also, shouts out to this clip being uploaded as well, because second-round rookie defensive back Mike Sanverstill, who we just drafted a week ago, is already utilizing every resource that he has and hitting up Daryl Green on his Instagram and asking him to coach him up. Before we even get to rookie minicamp, under the post of Daryl Green that he posted himself of him doing these drills and looking way better than he should at 64 years old, Mike Sanverstill added as a comment on Instagram, "Let's get in the lab, OG." And then Daryl Green responded, "You say when." I love it. I'm excited. I love that camaraderie. I love the fact that now that Josh Harris has created an environment where the burgundy and gold legends, the Redskin legends, want to come back and help the players that are part of the current Commanders right now. I love it. Daryl Green even said in the video where he had his jersey retired again, if you haven't checked out that 5-minute video, I don't know what you're doing, because it was a beautiful video, because he wasn't expecting it. They surprised him and everything. Everybody had on 28 jerseys, even Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and those guys. It was beautiful. And he said in that video that this is the first year ever, the first offseason he's ever felt welcomed around the organization, like people actually wanted him around. And that's most importantly terrible on Dan Snyder's part, but I also feel like Ron Rivera and those guys could have done a better job at that as well. But either way, that's old news. That's the thing of the past. We do not care about that anymore. We're moving forward. We're looking forward. Shouts out to Josh Harris for creating an environment where these people can reach back and forth. Like our second round rookie can reach out to our Hall of Fame defensive back and be like, hey, man, let's link up. I'm trying to learn a few things. And Daryl Green is like, yeah, let's get to it. If you remember, Daryl Green, even at a certain point last year, and maybe this is why Ron Rivera and Jack Darrell didn't want him around, but Daryl Green questioned the coaching that was going on with the Commanders last year. Sometime in like October and November, by the time a lot of people already gave up on Emmanuel Forbes because he wasn't having the great rookie season that a lot of people were expecting, that Daryl Green, even somewhere, I forgot where it was, but he said straight up to a camera and a microphone, I feel like it's the coaching. I feel like Emmanuel Forbes has the talent. And of course, I'm paraphrasing, but he basically said Emmanuel Forbes has the talent. He's just not being coached correctly. And that's probably a reason that Ron Rivera and Jack Darrell didn't want him around. And I love the fact that Daryl Green is looking at these current Commanders and being like, man, whatever way I can help, please bring me in, because these guys just need a little bit of help, a little bit of inspiration. Whatever I could do, just hit me up type of thing. I love it. I love the openness that's coming from our legendary side right now, and the fact that the younger guys love the legendary side and are seeking help from those guys. I love the mutual the mutual benefits of that right there. And also some random stats and info, just moving on, just to let you know, I mean, super duper random, but there was a post back in November 3rd of 2023 of a snippet of Eugene Shin, our current senior VP of football strategy, and he's like our top analytics guy, and he's talking about how underrated and important it is to have a game-changing tight end, a dual-threat tight end. And I feel like if you're really reading the clues and behind the scenes, I feel like that played a huge role as to why we ended up getting Ben Sinnott in the second round. Some people felt like he could have made it to the third, maybe even fourth round. I don't care. I love the fact that we got him. You have your eyes on a guy, you take him. You don't even risk it, because Ben Sinnott is going to kill it for us. I'm telling you right now, he's our true dual threat tight end. When I get to his breakdown, after I finally knock out this Brandon Coleman breakdown, you'll see what I'm talking about. I'm telling you, Ben Sinnott is that guy. We're all going to be very happy that we drafted him in the second round. He's going to look like a steal in the second round. I'm giving you the heads up right now. Also, look at this graphic right here. This is just a shame. What you're looking at is how often each NFL team has made the playoffs. In percentage of total seasons that the team has made the playoffs, hey, at least we're not worse, but we're also not doing very well either. And just let you know, if you see at the bottom right, it says playoffs were created in 1933. Now, of course, you have teams like the Panthers who they were created way after the Washington Redskins were created. But still, we've only made the playoffs 27% of the time. And as much as we laugh at the Cowboys for not winning Super Bowls and always going to the playoffs and choking, it's still pretty cool that they've made the playoffs more seasons than they haven't. Them and the Ravens are the only teams in the NFL that have made the playoffs more than they haven't. And, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I'm jealous of that. Granted, the Cowboys do go in there and just basically end up being choke artists, which is hilarious. We're gonna laugh at them every time that they do that. They have Super Bowl aspirations every season, no matter how bad their roster looks. But hey, man, at the end of the day, man, making the playoffs more times than not is something to definitely be pretty proud of. I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. And also, moving on, just in case y'all missed it, Shaka Toney was released right before the draft, like 2 days before the draft type of thing. It was officially announced that the Commanders released Shaka Toney just days after he was reinstated by the NFL after violating the league's gambling policy. Remember, he missed the entire 2023 season because of that. And everybody else was already cut before all of those guys were reinstated. Shaka Toney was the only one that wasn't cut by the time everybody that was part of that year-long ban was reinstated. And then immediately afterwards, we just went ahead and cut him anyway. So everybody that was banned for a year last year is now looking for a team, basically. And I was not surprised to hear this at all, because Shaka Toney, again, was the only player out of the 5 that were reinstated after being banned for a year that wasn't already cut. And so I don't exactly know why the Commanders waited until he was reinstated to go ahead and cut him. Maybe his paperwork was being used as a coaster in Adam Peters' office, and when he saw the notification, like, oh, I was supposed to cut that guy type, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe he just completely forgot he existed. Maybe he just had the paperwork on the side with all kinds of things on top of it. Like, yeah, I'm gonna get to it eventually. We'll get to cutting them eventually. We have more important things to worry about. Then he saw Shaka Toney reinstated. He was like, oh, we do have him on our team. Let's go ahead and knock out that release right there now. And, and then, yeah, he probably saw the notifications like, oh yeah, I was supposed to do something. That's what I forgot. There it goes. And JP Finley brings up a great point. He said on Twitter about the Shaka Toney release, when you're a 7th round pick that makes 16 tackles in 2 seasons, and then you get an indefinite suspension for gambling, probably not going to stick on many rosters. And that's the complete truth right there. Not surprised at all. And now moving on, and even more super random news. Y'all already know I'm an Employee of the Month Falcons hater, so I'm happy to see this. I'm elated to see this. But apparently, sources believe that the Falcons could be forced to forfeit a draft pick or two or multiple for potentially tampering regarding their signing of Kirk Cousins. Quote, the NFL investigation is ongoing and could reach a conclusion as early as this week. Now, this was before the draft, April 22nd, so we'll see. But this is probably an ongoing investigation that's even going to continue after the draft. Maybe it will affect their 2025 draft picks. Who knows? But sources believe the discipline, which is likely to involve draft picks, could be expected to be more severe for the Falcons, because there are a couple of teams that are being investigated. Like the Eagles are being investigated apparently for potentially tampering with Saquon Barkley, but the Falcons are probably the most likely to end up getting punished for potentially tampering with Kirk Cousins. And again, as Employee of the Month Falcons hater, I don't hate any team more than the Falcons out of any really professional sport. It's the Falcons 1, it's probably the Florida Gators 2 as far as college football goes, and then it's probably the Cowboys 3rd. So I'm in heaven seeing this report. Now again, this is reported before the draft, so maybe they've moved past it. I don't know. Maybe they escaped it. I don't know. But maybe the Falcons, the NFL is just looking at the Falcons like, well, y'all already threw away your 8th overall pick. That's enough judgment right there. That's enough justice. Y'all pretty much punished yourselves. I mean, why would we take another pick from y'all and you pretty much did our job for us? And I'm one of those people that feels like Michael Penix at 8 is not the bad option. I feel like going back, hindsight 2020, you should have just never have signed Kirk Cousins in the first place, especially if it's potentially going to cost you draft picks because of tampering. Like, there's just so many levels of stupidity to this. I like Michael Penix Jr. I'm not surprised that he went 8th overall to a team in general. It's just the fact that he went to the team that already just paid Kirk Cousins ridiculous amount of money, coming off of a torn Achilles of all things. So I feel like even though people are more so judging the Michael Penix pick because it happened after the Kirk Cousins thing, I feel like in reality, if you had to choose as a Falcons fan, would you prefer Michael Penix or Kirk Cousins? You would choose Michael Penix. But hey, man, especially with the blackest city in America, and this guy wears a do-rag all of the time. After winning a playoff college football game, he shouted out his boy in jail, said, I ain't forget about you. Like, the city of Atlanta is going to love Michael Penix. Once Kirk Cousins throws one interception, they're going to be chanting for Michael Penix. He's their best shot at another Michael Vick, I guess. So the city's gonna I already know Atlanta's gonna embrace the mess out of him. I love Michael Penix on and off the field. There was that video clip of him freestyling in the playoff game too, the same one that afterwards he shouted out his buddy back because he's from Florida, but he was apparently freestyling in the game and was like freestyling live like, this is what we about to do to him. I'm about to throw the ball, you gonna catch it, we gonna get the first down, we gonna like win the game type of thing. Of course he made it rhyme, he made it flow better and stuff like that, but that's what he was doing during the game. He has so many habits that a city like Atlanta will love to root for, that this Kirk Cousins thing is definitely gonna come back to bite him. But I love it. I love the fact that Falcons fans can't ever win, no matter what. Even when a good thing you get like a Michael Penix, there's this bad thing looming over it. And apparently the Kirk Cousins and his agent were unaware of the fact that they would even potentially take a quarterback, so Kirk Cousins was upset about it. I love it. I love to see the Falcons down bad. And even though I already did a breakdown on him and where he came from and what he's good at and things like that, but the Commanders have officially made this signing official. The fact that the Commanders signed free agent linebacker Bauer. This came out immediately post-draft, but since technically the ex-Notre Dame linebacker was a 2023 undrafted free agent, he wasn't announced for the 2024 undrafted free agent class. He's technically not a 2024 undrafted free agent. He's technically like a free agent veteran signing because he's not entering the draft right now, but it's because he had a severe injury like shortly before the 2023 draft or like during the season or something, and it affected his health. He couldn't even play in 2023, even if a team did draft him. So now we may have slipped up and gotten a slight steal here, because this is a guy that may have been drafted if he weren't hurt. And now that he's fully healthy, we picked him up as technically as a 2024 agent. He's technically not a 2024 undrafted free agent. I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. But again, I already did a whole breakdown on what he's good at, his weaknesses and strengths, what he's potentially could contribute as a special teams guy, all of that type of stuff, if you want to go check that out. And also, before we get up out of here, probably one of the most important things that we need to talk about, I can't believe I almost left this out, but the Washington Commanders made another big hire before the draft. Back in April 16th, Josh Harris added Senate veteran Kirtan Mehta to his DC team to help find a new home for the Washington Commanders. So he's not playing about this new stadium business. Wherever we're about to be, not playing. So remember, back when we hired Dave Gardy, that was a huge hire to bring in somebody directly from the NFL office. And he's going to help us on like the NFL rules, kind of like the coaching side of things, like literally one of Roger Goodell's right-hand man. Remember, we hired him, I think literally the next day we hired Kirtan Mehta. I was just so busy. I wasn't even in Atlanta at the time, so I couldn't update y'all on that. But I just felt like it was very important for me to go back and make sure I updated y'all on this, because Mehta will focus heavily on the team's development of a new stadium, including liaising with key outside stakeholders, including elected officials, league officials, fans, sponsors, and community organizations. That's a big help, man. I'm surprised we didn't already have somebody doing that. I'm assuming Jason Wright still helps on a certain side of things, but to add a person like Kirtan Mehta, that's going to be big time, man. And there's whole articles breaking down exactly what this Kirtan person is going to do and how they're going to help. I'm super excited. This is going to be a big help for our new stadium plans. Again, they already have the go to demolish RFK, and this Kirtan person is only going to be helping even more with that whole process. I'm excited, man. I'm telling you, we're making major moves towards this next stadium. I highly doubt Virginia is going to be included after that whole Wizards and Capitol situation that went down over there. But Maryland seems the most likely, but don't sleep on RFK right now. I'm super excited to see where we're going. And looking at one of the articles that says Scoop Commanders Draft Senate Veteran to Finesse Stadium Deal. That's the article from Hans Nichols. That's literally the title, and I like that title. That sounds good. And it says why it matters. Hiring Kirtan Mehta, a top Senate aide, doesn't mean that Harris has decided to bring the Washington Commanders back to their old stomping grounds at RFK Stadium in DC. But he's the kind of hire a new NFL owner would make to navigate the politics of moving a team from Maryland suburbs to a parcel of land that's currently owned by the federal government. Zoom out. Harris is trying to maximize his options in negotiations with DC, Maryland, and Virginia over the Commanders' next field. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin is eager to avenge his loss to DC after Mayor Muriel Bowser put together a $515 million package to keep the Capitals and Wizards downtown. Maryland government Wes Moore, a Ravens fan, is lobbying to keep the Commanders in Maryland, and Mayor Bowser is fighting to bring football back in DC. Zoom in. Mehta is leaving his role as chief of staff to Senate John Hickenlooper. He also worked for Governor Phil Murphy and Senator Joe Manchin. Mehta's first task, getting House-passed legislation through the Senate that would allow Bowser to negotiate with Harris on a potential package for a stadium on the banks of the Anacostia River. What we're watching, Harris, and Chevy Chase native who made billions in private equity, isn't sharing his play sheet for negotiations. There are arguments to be made for a sprawling suburban campus akin to what the Patriots built 30 miles outside of Boston, but the team lived its glory years at the former RFK Stadium in DC, and Harris is a local boy who could seek to recreate that magic on the same hallowed grounds. And I'm not gonna lie, man, DC sounds great as far as like a mutual location, the history behind it, the legendary wins, the Super Bowls and things like that. But I would prefer, as a guy from Atlanta, so I keep saying it, I don't feel like I deserve much saying this, but it sounds like the area with the most space, which is most likely Maryland, I would prefer that because I would like a whole city built around it. I don't know if y'all have ever been to Atlanta before, but we have this thing called the Battery. It's an entire mini city around the Brave Stadium. They moved from like the super duper hood. I'm surprised that it lasted that long down there in South Atlanta. Now it's over there in Cobb County. It's like a whole mini city. It's like Atlantic Station built around a stadium, restaurants, games, like literally a little mini city, like apartments. It's beautiful. I'm hoping that the Commanders do something like that with the next stadium that they build. But of course, again, I'm in Atlanta, so I would prefer if y'all in the DMV area have a bigger say, but that's just my own 2 cents on it, my own little small preference. Also, blocks away from the Capitol, it would offer the NFL sweeping camera pans of monumental Washington on a Monday night of football. That would be a great, I ain't gonna lie, that's kind of fire. And I wasn't alive for any of the Commander Super Bowls, so I would like to go to an RFK game. You know, that would be pretty cool. I can go to RFK 2.0 even though I wasn't there for RFK 1.0. And then the article goes on to say what's next. As the NFL franchise representing our nation's capital, the Commanders' relationship with federal and local leaders are vital to our organization, said team president Jason Wright. quote, we're confident in Kirtan will partner powerfully with them to advance community and policy efforts that will benefit our fans and the area at large, unquote. So this guy is taking on a lot on his plate. Again, my first thing when I saw this announcement was like, how do we not already have a guy doing this? This guy has so many responsibilities. He's going to play such a large role into where this next stadium ends up being and why and all of that type of stuff. It's crazy that we didn't already have this guy in our pocket, in our organization, besides the Josh Harris, because on the football side of things, he's killing it. And then also on the business side of things, it seems like he's killing it there as well. Because again, do not sleep. Please do not sleep on that Dave Gardy hiring that we did a few weeks ago that I already did a full breakdown on him. That signing is crazy, but also don't sleep on Kirtan Mehta. I hope I'm pronouncing that name right. I really hope I do, but I'm typically mispronouncing things all of the time. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please stiff arm that like button, stiff arm the subscription button, stiff arm the bell next to that subscription button so you get notification each and every time I release an informative and opinionated video just like this one. I really appreciate y'all for even making it this far in this video, man. This video is basically about to be 50 minutes long, and I just really, anybody that's made it this far, shouts out to you. That's much love. Also, make sure you do not leave this video without leaving a like, and of course, even though we talked about a million things under the sun, let me know in the comment section what things pique your interest the most and why, and basically break down what your opinions are on a lot of these things. If you want to talk about every single topic we talked about in this video, I would love that as well. Of course, I'm gonna try my best to try to read and reply to as many comments as possible. Of course, I'm super busy with all of this draft stuff and everything going on revolving around the Commanders right now, but I'm gonna try my best. So I really appreciate y'all. Let me know if you agree or disagree with any of the points that I brought up as well. Really appreciate y'all. Make sure y'all follow all of the social medias. Be on the lookout, because if you're not a channel member, go become one, because we're about to start putting out these film sessions on all of these draft picks as well as soon as I wrap up doing all of these breakdowns on all of these draft picks. So make sure you stay tuned for all of that. So much content on the way. I really appreciate y'all. Even though the Commanders are about to go into somewhat of like a dead period, even though I hope I wake up one random morning and we sign all pro safety Justin Simmons, or maybe a left tackle, a veteran guy somewhere. Either way, hopefully both. But even though we're more than likely going in somewhat of like a dead period on the Commanders end, that does not mean Street Score is going into a dead period. If anything, this is where I cook up. Again, we have film sessions, breakdowns. I have so many creative video ideas, a lot of projections for the 2024 season that we're about to get into. So now, with less random Commanders news coming out every day, now I can focus on all of the ideas that I already have. So I'm really excited. Stay tuned. I'm about to be spamming y'all with videos, and I have more time for live streams as well. So make sure you stay tuned for those. I'm gonna catch y'all later. Appreciate y'all. I'm out.